Okay, good morning. I was going to say good afternoon then. Good morning and welcome to the Parent Carer Forums AGM. Now we're in double figures, which I'm amazed about for any AGM, to be fair. And I know there's a few more people that are going to join us. So I really appreciate you coming and spending time. The whole purpose of today is to really do a little bit looking back at what PCF have done over the last 12-month period, and to also look forward to what you guys, your parent carers, have told us, topics that you want for the next year, and also the professionals. You know, they've got work coming down the line that they want to share with you guys, work streams that they've been working on for some time. So it's an opportunity to go through both. We also have the transport team coming along to give you a bit of an update and talk to you overall about what the transport process is, and follow up hopefully on some of the questions from the 3 focus groups that we ran earlier this year. So without further ado, housekeeping. We are recording this session, so if I could ask you all to switch your cameras off unless you're presenting, and also go on mute for me, that would be great. We will be posting this on our Facebook. No, we won't. We will be posting this on our website and our YouTube channel after the event, and I can talk to you more about those platforms that we've established over the last 12 months as well. So if I get distracted, please accept my apologies, but I'm letting people in as I go as well, so please bear with me. Okie dokie, so that gives you an idea. As I say, we have a wrap up from this academic year. We've got the transport team coming along, and sorry, we've also got Cheshire Buddies coming to talk about their summer provision. I'll also be explaining where you can find out more about what the summer provision is across the whole of QAC. So not just Cheshire Buddies, but some of the other providers as well. And then we can talk about up and coming events and any questions that you might have. Please, another great opportunity to use your chat function. Vanessa has kindly said that she will monitor that for me and let me know if there's any questions that you have from any of the presentations. Please do put it in the chat, and we'll pick it up for you. Okay, so here is a summary of what we as the PCF have been doing over the last 12-month period. So we've grown, we've actually, since this slide has been put together, we've had 5 more people requesting to join our database. So actually that has now gone up to over 600 people, which is quite astonishing. We have 21 school reps across a mix of special and mainstream provisions. We've had 10 management meetings, and I'll go into more detail about all of this as we go along. And we've had over 300 people attending our in-person and our online forums. We've really expanded this year in terms of our social media presence. So our Facebook page has actually over 5,000 reaches, but as every month goes by, that is growing and growing and growing. So that was at the time that we actually put this slide together. And likewise, our web page, it's just something that we announced and launched last year. That's really getting a huge amount of traffic, and we're getting some incredible feedback with regards to the use of that. So again, I'm going to encourage you all to go and have a look at that. We've launched our YouTube channel. Astonishingly, we have attended over 115 meetings as our PCF representative. We've held 1 national consultation, and we've also ran 5 focus groups. We've had at least 785 pieces of feedback, and we have 25 PCF reps at different working groups. And again, I'll go into that in more detail. We've had some new events that we set up this year, which have worked really well, which is our coffee events. And we're going to expand those again next year. And they're more of an informal way that we can share knowledge and experience and give you an opportunity to understand how to access services out there. And an astonishing over 2,000 volunteer hours that we've actually managed to put in this year. So just a little reminder about the purpose and the aim of the PCF, to be the voice of as many parent carers as possible, to be the consultative body with the borough, to represent the views of the parent carers and the children who have special educational needs and disabilities, to provide links with professionals and voluntary organisations. And again, that's built and developed over the last 12 months. And to ensure that the children and young people we send in the borough are given as much opportunity and can have the best outcomes that they possibly can have. Okay, so I am sorry. Now on to the boring bit where I have to fundamentally take you through all the different pieces of work that we've done. I'll try and make it as interesting as possible. So just bear with me whilst I bring up the AGM report that has been shared. Here we go. So I've covered some of these. We've had can everybody see that? Unless I hear otherwise, I'm assuming you can all see that. Okay.
Yes, you can see it. Thank
you. Okay. So we've had, as I say, an increase of 10% in membership, but that's actually probably gone up nearer to 12.5%. The role of the PCF I've talked to you about, but what I haven't talked to you about is actually we're part of a national body as well, where there are 152 of our equivalents across the whole of the UK, all linked to local authority boundaries. So we actually feed into the national network of parent carer forums. So if there is any large piece of government consultation or legislation that's coming through, it will be fed through that national network. And equally, we feed up any issues that are particularly facing here in Cheshire West. We feed that back up through to that regional and then that national level. So how are we funded? We are funded by the Department of Education, and they give us £17,500 a year to each forum, each of those 152 forums, and we have to apply for the grant, and to go through that grant process, it's quite a detailed process, and not everybody gets allocated the full 17,500. It depends on what kind of work that you do. And I'm delighted to say that last year we literally spent all bar £768 of that, and we have actually spent that £768 subsequently, but at the point of the 31st of March. And this is how we spent it. Our total expenditure was £17,120. We had events, so those were our forums that we had, and our coffee events, if there was any cost associated with that. We've delivered training to some parent carer forums, parent carer members. We've also got the wonderful, well, it was Andrea last year, covering for Sarah whilst she's on maternity leave, but we're delighted that Sarah is coming back and she's our administrator. So we've got some staff costs, and to be perfectly honest, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without having Sarah on board. It would just be impossible to be able to coordinate everything that we have to do without actually having a paid member of staff to support us in that. As we mentioned before, we've developed our website, and that's going to be a cost that continues every year. And then we've had information and resources. So that's things like that. It's one of these send books that we've got that we've bought for families, and again we've invested in that again for next year. And then parent care expenses, so that could be anything from paper to ink to parking fines. We don't pay parking fines, parking tickets, and any kind of cost associated with being a parent carer volunteer. So our structure, we have a steering group, and our steering group meets bi-monthly, and this is the opportunity where our parent representatives who attend the meetings have an opportunity to sit alongside the professionals, and it's a real two-way conversation. So the professionals will update us on the issues that they're facing and the pieces of work that they're currently working on, and that could be anything from commissioning a new service to reorganisation changes that have taken place in the NHS or the ICB as it is now, the Integrated Care Board, or again there's been a lot of changes going on in the local authority. And that's our opportunity every other month to sit down and share our experiences. And we have a number of different parent reps who sit on that board, and we're really proud of the fact that we have a whole cross section of parents. We're not autism heavy. I'm a parent of a child with Down syndrome, and we have people with global development delay, etc., etc. And, you know, that's really important for us that we represent a true cross-section of families within the region, those with complex care, those with adopted children, a whole cross-section. And we also have something called a parent management group, which we meet monthly at our parent management group. And this is basically the guts of the forum. This is where we had a meeting yesterday. This is where all of us get together and go, okay, what meetings have you attended? What's coming up? What do we need to think about in the future? Who's going to run the focus group? You know, the actual guts of what it is that we do. In addition to that, we have school reps, as I mentioned earlier. We have 21 school reps over the whole of Cheshire, West and Cheshire. So if there's families out there, parents out there who want to become part of the Parent Carer Forum but don't want to take up the responsibility of being on a steering group or attending meetings, this is a really great way for you to join and get your voices heard and the voices of your schools. We've got a WhatsApp group set up, which has become a really supportive group where they can ask questions for themselves and also for some other parents in their schools. And next year, we're going to introduce a buddying process and also some specific training for school reps. Nothing too complicated, just understand what we do at the Parent Carer Forum. And the idea of the school reps is it's a two-way process, really. We are happy to go in and support you if you wanted to run a coffee event at your school. That's one way that we can share information. And the other way is, you know, you guys are on the ground. You're hearing what parents are telling you in that schoolyard or on the WhatsApp groups that you may be part of within your school. And it's an opportunity to feed back those common themes that are coming across the whole of the borough. And that's when we escalate it up and realise actually there is an issue across the whole of the patch. So if you are interested, this document will be sent out to everybody after the event. If you are interested, you can click on our website and register any kind of interest that you have. And then we have our parent voice reps. So these are the people who attend the meetings. Majority of them either sit on the steering group or the parent carer management group. And these are the ones that will go in and talk about the autism pathway. Just trying to think of what meetings I attend now, or the supported internship program. And we really offer our views and opinions as parent carers. There's reps on all kinds. And at the end of this, I'll go through all the meetings that we attend. And again, if there's anybody who'd be interested in getting involved and have a specific area that they want to champion, then please do get in contact with us. So here are our achievements. Your voices have been heard, and that's exactly what we're here to do. I mean, that this literally, if you had a megaphone coming from my mouth and all of the parent reps, that's what we're here to do. We're here to amplify your voices. And one really great way of demonstrating that is one of our mums came to us and said that she's got a child who at this stage, when she approached us, her son hadn't been diagnosed with any kind of condition, and he was on a pathway, and it was a really difficult process for her to navigate. So what we did was we looked at working with our NHS colleagues, our social care colleagues, and the Live Well kind of network, and we set up a early years pathway. Don't know whether or not. Stop sharing. I'm going to reshare. And we created this piece of work. And this is on the Live Well website. And this is an opportunity. You can click through all of these and it takes you to, you know, do you want to know about 18 to 24 month checks? Do you want to know about ongoing support? And you can click through any of these and it's a pathway that will give you an opportunity to help navigate what we know is a really complicated and difficult process. This is being sent through to all the GP practices, and there's a flyer that goes with it, which is going to all of the child development centres, paediatrics. And again, it's just as an opportunity to try and help make it a little bit easier for parents to navigate that process. And that came from one of our parents. And we're really proud of that piece of work. It started off as a flip chart. And me and her sitting there just getting our ideas out, and then it's gone to a really valuable piece of work. So those are some of the wins that we can share with you. Right, I'll go back onto the report now. Okay. Shouldn't have gone off it, should I? Hold on a sec, I will find it. Sorry. Oh, it was all going so wonderfully well. And I try and get clever and do a click through and then ruin it. Hold on. Here you go. Yeah, right, I'll share it with you. Sorry, guys. Zoom, share screen. Okay, so I'm not doing any more click-throughs. Otherwise I'll be in the same position. Okay, so carrying on to talking about what we've achieved. Down syndrome, there was since this time last year, an act came through Parliament in June 2022, and we actually consulted with over 200 people across the whole of Cheshire. And this is something that we worked alongside Cheshire East Parent Carer Forum and obviously Down Syndrome Cheshire to actually make sure that we had the voices of our Down syndrome community in Cheshire represented at the highest levels. And we did that with working alongside some of the Senkos here in Cheshire West, asking them, you know, what it's like to support a child with Down syndrome, and if there's any issues that they wanted to raise and support that they wanted to have written into the guidance that the government will hopefully be publishing over the summer, which will then get another opportunity to look at the guidance that sits alongside the Act. So 202 people across the whole of Cheshire is, you know, from a population of 700 people in Cheshire who've got Down syndrome, that was quite an impressive turnout, really. And we're really pleased and grateful of not only the Senkos, but the social workers. We had a number of social workers who took part in focus groups, and obviously the families, and most importantly, some young adults with Down syndrome also contributed to that. Okay, transport. At the beginning of the year, it was literally the first time my phone was ringing off the hook. There was a number of issues with the transport going back in September of last year. As a result of that, we have transport coming here today to talk about what you should experience, what the process is, and also to feedback from some of the focus groups that we had. Complex care, we are, as it says there, acutely aware of the needs of the cohort that are not being met. So we've met with families with regards to that, and one of our main focuses for the next academic year is to do a similar kind of pathway that we did for the early years, is to make sure we do that for those complex care families as well. Accessible playgrounds. We invited Parks and Recreations to come and attend our forum back in October, November time, and they really listened to what you had to say. I don't know whether it was coincidence. I don't think I'm going to take it as a win, but subsequently they have now installed some wheelchair accessible roundabouts, and in the Winsford area they've also done a large communication board that's got British Sign Language on, which were two of the suggestions that our families presented at our October forum. So you know, amazing. Communication. This is going to be ongoing, I think, until the day you bury me. But you know, communication, we appreciate that communication in a local authority and health service continues to be a challenge. So, you know, we are working with Emma Walker, who many of you may well know, on the Live Well website, but we've also taken it into our own hands too. And we've ensured that our communication is better. So the establishment of the website, and you can see there some of the numbers that we've got some real traffic now, over 7,000 people coming to look at our website on a weekly and monthly basis. So, you know, it's an impressive, from a standing start, it's an impressive gain. We've also established a YouTube channel. We know that many working families, for instance, can't attend sessions like this, so but they are watching it back on our either web page or our YouTube channel. So again, when you get a copy of this report afterwards, you can click through. I'm not doing it, I've learned my lesson. You can click through and have a look at our YouTube channel. Again, this will be put on our YouTube channel for families. This is our Facebook reach, over 5,000 reaches, and you can see how it spikes there. Actually, when we've gone past the 20th of June, we've gone to over 6,000, depending on what it is that I think the AGM has hit over 6,000. And we know that we know that it's a beast that needs to be continually fed. When we've had our recent planning meeting, we've also looked at the opportunity of doing Instagram and Twitter as well. Newsletter, we send these out on a monthly basis. There are still challenges, so bear with me just one sec. We've got a couple of people. There are still people who aren't getting copies of the newsletter, so we're going to push it back onto you guys too. Can you please ensure that you ask your schools about the newsletters, because they all do go via the school network. But also, if you're not sure, then please do subscribe via our website, and all of our newsletters are up on our website, so you can look back and there's lots of click-throughs. Partnership work, dead proud of this. There's a couple of bits that I'm dead proud of. One is amazing organisation Space, for those of you who don't know about it, and they have been doing coffee events pretty weekly actually, and they've been inviting us along. Equally, Down Syndrome Cheshire have taken up the mantle, and they hosted one this year, but will continue to host more over the Northwich, Winsford area. And we've realised that that's a great opportunity for parents to get together, as a support group, but also we've decided for next year it's going to be more about using that as an opportunity just to give you nuggets of information. So I'll come on to what kind of information as I go through. Volunteer training, we had a number of parents go on the IPSI training, and next year we'll be providing some training for the SEND framework. So please, again, keep your eyes on our social media platforms so that you can actually book on those. And then our third sector meeting, this is something that's working really well. We started it last academic year and we will be continuing it. We have over the 15 charities who are specific to who support people with special educational needs and disabilities across the whole of Cheshire. So they're a like-minded group, and it's a great opportunity to share best practice and to say, okay, guys, we're doing this. Will that be open to other families? And we can feed in what's actually going on in the local authority too. And that's worked really well. And that's our summary, which I shared on the previous slide. So plans for 2023-24, well, obviously your voices are the most important thing. So we've got to continue to make sure that you are heard. So we're going to continue running our coffee events, doing more of the same really, so but more focused. So we're ensuring that the coffee events are going to be, as I say, more targeted, and we're going to have key speakers just for a half-an-hour slot. And then you guys will have an opportunity to catch up on an informal basis. We're going to continue to do our forums 3 times a year and develop our school network, because that's working really well. In addition, we're going to do our parent carer survey again. Committed to doing it biannually, so every other year, and we last did it in 2020, just before, perfect timing actually, just before we were inspected. So we will be running that again next year. We want to build a relationship with SENCOs and governors. That we are going to invite some SENCOs onto our steering group. And again, we have a parent rep who is a governor who works alongside the Cheshire West governors. So she has very kindly put her hand up and said that she would work and do that link role for us. Development of coffee events, talked about that. Complex care pathway, we've talked about that. Social media growth, so develop a Twitter and Instagram presence as well. And then our events for 2023-2024. Please take this with a pinch of salt. These will move around, but this is what we're planning as we stand at the moment. So in October, we'll have our first in-person forum. And that is an opportunity for all the parents to get to understand what the organisational changes have taken place within the local authority, because there's been some big changes. I'm not even going to try and go into them today. So they will come along and have an opportunity to share with you what those roles and responsibilities are. We also know there's an issue around attendance and exclusion, so we're asking them to talk about that. alternative provision, what is it? And then our ways of working. We've got 2 parent reps who've been working quite closely with that work stream, and they're going to give their parents perspective on that. I think I've got IAS on the call here. So anyway, could you please put in your diary November, because we'd really love it if you could do a Zoom to talk about IAS and what your role is. And also we're going to ask the Carers Trust whether or not they can come on and talk about what their roles are too. So it's basically supporting families and what's been actually commissioned out there. And then we're going to have a law focus in January: Mental Capacity Act, Care Act, and EHCP and SEND law. As I say, please do take these with a pinch of salt, because we haven't booked them all in yet. We haven't got the speakers, but this is our thinking, and we wanted to share our thinking with you. And in February, we're going to run a live Live Well. So for those of you who went to the Meet the Professionals last year, a similar kind of event where basically all of those website pages that you click through, there'll actually be a person there who will be able to, you'll be actually able to talk to. We will be doing the 5-minute round robin room. So you actually, as I say, get an opportunity to meet people and see what services are out there. But we'd also like a specific presentation about mental health services and the updates, waiting times, things that you're telling us are an issue for you. March, there should be a review of the short break. So we're going to have that. And we're also going to talk about education other than in school. And that's something specifically that's come through the local authority, what they would like to talk to you guys about. And then finally, our last in-person, I shouldn't say finally, but our last in-person one is going to be about preparation for adulthood. We really want to focus it on year 7 onwards. So we're not just talking about post-16, it's earlier than that. So what are supported internships? What happens when my CP is ceased? And we will be inviting social care to say what support can they offer, supported living, direct payments, and we'll get day services there too. Ask Vivo if they can come along and talk to us about what their services are. And again, the big piece about advocacy. So from the age of 16 onwards, what is the process in the NHS to move from one services to the other? June, we're planning on giving you a bit of an update about our survey. And then this time next year, we will be doing our other AGM. So we have got scope in here to make some changes. Our coffee events, we're going to invite people who will care for me when I'm gone, somebody to come and talk to us about wills and trusts, somebody to come and talk to us about advocacy, somebody to come and talk about financials. So we're going to ask HSBC to come along because they have got an appointee bank account, and also somebody to come and talk to us about the children's trust funds that we know are issues out there. And then again, benefits and support. So the idea of this is we're going to have half-an-hour slots where we'll invite the speakers. You come, you sit, you listen, and then it's an opportunity for you just to catch up with other parent carers. So watch this space for those. Okay, so now is the formal part of the meeting. Oh, can't wait to hand over to the next slide. You'll be sick to death of hearing me. This is the bit that we have to go through as it's an AGM. We want to, I'm the current chair, and proposing, as long as somebody nominates me, Q team, to potentially be a co-chair with Vanessa Usai. So Vanessa, would you mind switching your camera on for me, please? I'll stop sharing. Are you there, Vanessa?
Yes, I'm here.
For formal part of the process, will somebody please nominate Vanessa and I to be co-chairs for next year?
Anyone?
I would like to propose, please.
Thank you, Annika. Anybody
Vanessa, yes, and Vanessa and Jules to be co-chairs next year.
Thanks, Annika. Who would like to second us?
I will second that.
Thanks, Lucy.
Not that this is planned or anything, guys. Good Lord. But anyway, it's on record that we're doing it. And I would also like to nominate the lovely Lucy Kennelly to be vice chair next year.
As would I.
Brilliant. So that's seconded.
I will second that.
And Sarah, if you're happy to go on camera, please don't feel that you have to, because I know that you've got your gorgeous Isabella there. But she will be remaining as our secretary and our treasurer. So I think we're all like, yes, please.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you, Sarah. You've got about 50 seconds on that, seconders on that. So that's brilliant. So thank you very much. Okay, right. I will quickly go back to sharing the last piece now that formal piece is over. To show, so with that in place, this gives you an idea of our steering group, Vanessa and I as co-chairs, and then these are the representatives that we have who sit on our steering group. So in conclusion, it's been one hell of a year. It's been brilliant, and we've built on the last, academic year and worked on the reorganisation that we put in place. We have made steady progress, and we are reaching more families. The rollout of the coffee events and the school reps has been brilliant. As a forum, we felt frustration by the lack of progress on some issues, such as communication, affordable wraparound care and waiting times. We've consistently been raising your concerns with the LA and health services in all of our meetings, and we will continue to press for action. We've worked hard to continue to be that critical friend to our professional partners, and are committing to making sure that that journey for our families with SEND is as smooth and as supportive as it can possibly be. None of this work could be achieved without the hard work and relentless dedication of our volunteers, plus the willingness from the LA and the health service to welcome the PCF to the top table and to listen to our views. And that's really important to acknowledge, that, both health, social care and education do welcome us to actually sit there, even if we're telling them a story that they don't want to hear, or we're pressing for action that they feel uncomfortable about giving us. They never stop inviting us. And my words I don't really have the words to share and express the admiration that I have for these parent reps who are looking after their own children, who are seeking opinions from other parent carers, and they're all doing this whilst juggling their family, hospital appointments, work commitments. They've been absolutely incredible. So I'd like you all to take yourselves off mute, please, and give everybody a round of applause for the work that they have done on your behalf this year. So please take yourselves off and give everybody a round of applause. Well
and for
done,
Jules.
guys. Well done.
Well done, Jules, as well.
Thank you. So that's been astonishing. So that's pretty much the formal part of the AGM done. So I will move through now. Hold on a sec. One quote from one of our parents. There's a genuine ambition amongst the team to ensure all voices are heard, valued wherever possible. Help and guidance and signposting is done swiftly. So thank you. That means a lot to us when we get those bits of feedback. So thanks ever so much. Okay, right. I am now going to hand over to the transport team. So I know we've got Carolyn. You're on I think I let you in the room. You are on, aren't you?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. I was delighted the technology worked.
Yay! Well, let's hope it continues. I've only screwed it up once so far, but there's room for me to get it wrong again. So I will share my screen. Thank you for coming, and just tell me when you want to move through your slides, and I'll move through them for you. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Jules. And I want to say thank you very much for inviting us to your AGM. Really privileged to be able to take a slot at your very important meeting. I'm glad that we're coming after the boring bit, and I'll try and keep my voice sort of quite lively rather than monotone, so it's a little bit more interesting. So what I'll do before we go through the slides, I'll ask my colleagues who are on the call as well to introduce themselves. So I'll start. I'm Carolyn Davies. I'm one of the senior managers in the education service, and home to school transport policy and the transport budget sits within my service. Kerry, do you want to go next?
I don't know if it's actually working.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, thank God. I'm so relieved. So I'm Kerry Crowe, and I am the Commissioning and Contracts Manager for the Transport Commissioning Service.
Thank you. And Nicole? Okay, I think maybe Nicole's having an issue. Angela Lewis should be with us as well. Okay, well, it looks like you may be hearing more of my voice than expected. Oh, Angela.
Sorry, I am here. Morning, Angela Lewis, and Senior Commissioning Manager for Children, Families and Public Health. And I'll be giving you an update on wraparound childcare and short breaks.
And I'll introduce Nicole if she can't introduce herself. So Nicole Meller is our Travel Assistance Manager. So she works within my service on transport policy and eligibility. So we've got a few slides to share with you. We're going to go through sort of fairly quickly policy, eligibility criteria, transport options. Then we've got some feedback to go through from your discussion groups, and we've got a couple of discussion points in there as well that we wanted to sort of pick up from those feedback sessions. Angela's here to sort of do a little bit about wraparound childcare and short breaks. What I would like to do is go through the slides and then come back to the discussion points and then leave any questions to the end if that's okay. So we'll go do slides, come back to the discussion points, and then any other questions we can pick up at the end.
No
Okay.
problem. So
Thanks.
please put it all in the chat and we'll monitor it for Caroline. No problem.
Okay. Thanks, Jules. Do you want to go on to the next one? Okay, so as I said, we start off with a bit of policy. So children are eligible for free transport if they attend their nearest suitable school. And that's the setting that's named in section I of their education, health and care plan. And it's over 2 or 3 miles away, and that says age dependent. So it's over 2 miles if they're an infant, generally an infant, and over 3 miles if they're a junior. So there's an age limit there. Or if they're not cannot reasonably be expected to walk because of their SEND or a mobility difficulty. Also felt it worth noting that parents are expected to accompany their children when walking to school as necessary. So all of the distances are based on an accompanied child rather than a child walking on their own. We go next, please. So we do have another criteria as well, which is children are eligible if they attend their nearest suitable school, which is within the statutory walking distance, so those 2 and 3 miles. And they can't be expected to walk there because of the nature of the route. So that is where we potentially have some hazards along the route. So no crossing places or no pavements, for example. And there's no reasonable alternative route within the statutory walking distance. So a lot of that sort of relates to our rural areas where we've got some country lanes or where we haven't got sufficient crossing points potentially. Thank you. We also have an extended rights criteria. So this one is when a child is either in receipt of free school meals or parents are in receipt of universal credit. So what this does is widen the eligibility criteria. So for children aged 8 to 10, it shortens the distance. So it goes down from 3 miles to 2 miles. And then 11 to 16, it opens it up to one of 3 nearest schools between 2 and 6 miles. There's also a faith element for extended rights. So if you meet the free school meals or universal credits criteria and you are attending a school because of religious beliefs, then it widens the distance even further. So it could be between 2 and 15 miles. But we do need evidence of admission based on faith grounds. So if that evidence is already on file, then we accept that. If not, we do ask for extra information about that. Okay, next one, please. Thanks, Jules. So there are a range of travel options that we look at when providing travel assistance. So there's a cycle grant, there's a personal travel budget, which there's a slide just on personal travel budgets in a moment. We do have some volunteers who provide transport. The majority, though, are contracted services. So they're the buses, the coaches, the minibuses and the taxis. We do use public transport wherever possible as well. So the team can issue bus passes or rail passes if that's the most suitable route. There's also national concessionary travel. And we have had, up until recent years, an independent travel training scheme for SEND students. Unfortunately, that scheme's had to be suspended at the moment, purely because we've not been able to secure a supplier. So it's been put out to tender a couple of times, but we've not managed to get a partner provider for that yet. But it is something that we're exploring more options for. So I said a little bit more information about personal travel budgets. So these are available for any eligible child. They're paid at 45 pence a mile for the first 10,000 miles, and then it reduces to 25 pence after that. This is because we have to be in line with HMRC rates. But the personal travel budget can be used as flexibly as parents need. So we do have parents who buy travel passes for themselves or another adult to accompany their children. They can cover the cost of petrol for families who are able to drive their own child to school. They cover the cost of cycling potentially, or childcare for another sibling. In fact, it can be used for pretty much anything that parents feel is the most appropriate. So it can be pooled together with other parents to have a joint contract. We're not specific about what it has to be used for, other than the child has to arrive at school and be taken home again. And we do monitor attendance as part of that as well. Okay, next slide, please. Thanks, Jules. Okay, so I'm going to talk through this transport commissioning process. This is very much Kerry's world. So for September starts, there are replanning meetings with each of our schools to review contracts, and these happen around about the April time. So as soon as we sort of get an idea of where placements are, the contract replanning starts. The team then start tendering contracts that will end at the end of the school year, and letters are sent out before the schools close. So the team will do any wheelchair assessments or risk assessments before the contracts start, and meet and greets are arranged during August as well, with the intention that children meet the operator that's transporting them during the summer holidays before the school starts. So for any mid-year starts, it does take a little bit of time to go through the commissioning process. So generally it would be 5 days to add a pupil to an existing contract, and around about 10 days to create a new contract. So it's just that there is a bit of a sort of process to go through. So unfortunately transport isn't immediately available when it's asked for. Again, wheelchair and risk assessments are completed before contracts commence, and meet and greets are arranged for parents and carers. So during that time, but it's a very, very short time frame to get quite a lot of work done. Okay, this is the feedback that we had from your focus groups. So communication came across as quite a theme. So what we are doing to support with better communication is we're updating the council web pages with more useful information. The Live Well pages have been updated with more information around transport and travel assistance. Commissioning letters have been reviewed and updated, letters are being sent to parents earlier, and training's been delivered to the SEN team to improve their understanding of the transport processes so that they can advise families earlier in the process. So there are 2 discussion points. I'll just leave this one open for a moment because I want to come back to them at the end. But one was around a request for 1-page profiles for operators. So we just sort of like to find out a little bit more about what you would like to achieve with this and how you would like it to be facilitated. And then there were some queries around what the process is around drivers being late or early. So there are some sort of contractual issues with that, and then I'd like to just come back to that one a little bit later if that's possible. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. Training was also flagged as an issue. So what we're doing is making sure that each school is putting on training at the beginning of the year. So that includes some Makaton training as well. We do ask that school staff are available morning and afternoon for drivers and passenger assistants in order to be able to ask for advice. Mentioned before about the meet and greets, which allow parents carers the opportunity to talk to the operators about children's needs. And there are guidance booklets about different aspects of SEND being created to be sent out to drivers just to raise that awareness and understanding. Thanks, Jules. Right, I'm going to hand over to Angela now, just to pick up a few slides around an update on wraparound childcare and short breaks, and then we'll come back to the discussion points and the Q&A.
Thank you. Can I just check, is my video on?
Yes, it is. We can.
Yeah.
Okay. Lovely, thank you. So just wanted to provide a quick update on the improvements that are being made to wraparound childcare and short breaks, and you know, the ongoing work that's taking place. So we do have a working group, and that working group consists of parent representatives from the Parent Carer Forum, to ensure that feedback is provided into the work that's taking place within commissioning. If you just go on to the first slide. So some of you may or may not be aware of the work that's taken place in terms of home to school transport and some of the informal arrangements that we've had to get children from school to their short break provision. There was a decision made in 2022 to stop that informal arrangement, and we worked with the parents, in particular in the Chester area, to look at what we could do to resolve that issue. And so following consultation with parents, the council agreed to provide the following transport solutions for children who are eligible for home to school transport. So it's important that it is for children eligible for home to school transport. And that is to reinstate transport to wraparound childcare for those families where there will be no additional cost to the council. Continue to promote personal travel budgets for all families. So just following on from personal travel budgets that Carolyn's just talked about. And also a longer term aspiration to seek a provider to manage or broker travel arrangements for children to get to and from their childcare or short break. So the arrangements for families currently in receipt of travel assistance to wrap around childcare or short breaks where there's no additional cost will continue until there are any changes in circumstances or where a cost would be incurred. So next slide, please. So as I said, at the moment, we've got 2 short break providers in the Chester area, which parents tend to use their home to school transport for. And our aspiration is to develop more childcare or short breaks after school in the rest of the borough. So we've been, the working group has been working to understand what that would look like. My colleague Jodie Calcutt has drafted a service specification which outlines the short break services for after school and school holidays. That's been drafted and been shared with the working group. That went out in June, and I think we've got a deadline of, is it this Friday, Jules, for comments back on that?
It is. Hopefully we'll get it to you before Friday, but yes, yeah, Friday is the deadline.
So what's been provided is a copy of the service specification, which outlines what our expectations are for those providers, and also tender documents that we'll be putting out on the Northwest portal to inform providers of the opportunity, and also, you know, seek their responses to those questions if they're interested in providing either the childcare or the short breaks within our local communities. So once we have the comments back from the PCF, we'll incorporate those into the final versions, and they'll be issued on the procurement portal, seeking tenders from appropriate providers. Next slide, please. So just thought I'd share the timescales for this. So what we have to do as commission service is seek permission to commission a service. There will be a need for kind of a startup funding for these providers. What we would be looking for, though, is for the provision to be fully sustainable. So where we can provide funding for providers to set up, to buy any appropriate equipment, and to kind of, I suppose, prop them up in the first few months while you know, parents find out about the service, start to use the service, etc. But there would be no ongoing funding from the council. So we'll be looking to seek permission to commission those services during August. If we can get ahead of this timeline, then absolutely fantastic, we'll do that. Then the tender process, including evaluations and award, would take place during September and October. We have to then, as part of our governance arrangements, seek permission to award a contract to the successful providers. We'd be doing that during November. We'd be looking for mobilisation of those services during November and December, and then looking at a proposed start date of January 2024. So that is the timeline for that, and that's what we're working towards. And obviously what I'll do, Jules, is come back to you throughout that process, and obviously yourself and your colleagues will be part of that process, I would hope, as part of the evaluation process, etc. But I'll provide you with regular communication about how that's going.
Great, thank you. Wonderful. Okay, back over to you, Carolyn.
Thanks, Jules. Could we go back to the slide with the discussion points on, please?
Oh, now you're testing my limits. Hold on a second.
Thank you. Okay, so one of the things that was raised as part of your focus group discussions was around one-page profiles, and we just sort of like a little bit more information if anybody's had any more, you know, thoughts about that, about what would would you want to achieve from having the one-page profile? Is it a different one to you? Your children have at other settings, so would it be a bespoke transport one, and how would you want this to be facilitated with our operators? Okay,
or feel free for anybody else, if you feel comfortable, to switch your cameras on if you want to join the conversation. But I was part of all three of the focus groups, so I can probably give you a better idea about what the parents were thinking. A number of parents had experienced a change of personnel in the taxis, whether or not different taxi drivers, different chaperones, I'll use one example is, one young lad needed to have, say, Google Maps on so he could follow where he was on the route or whatever else. And as those taxi drivers changed in shifts, or the chaperones changed in shift, that information wasn't passed from one provider to another. So families just generally thought it'd be really worthwhile to have a one-page profile that could be shared at that meet and greet, and then held as something that was then passed on to taxi drivers and the chaperones and the schools as well. So what were the key triggers? If some children needed to know in advance about a change in route, or if somebody needed to have their headphones on as part of a calming mechanism, or somebody needed to have a fidget toy, or somebody didn't need to sit by a window, whatever it might be. Some of those key bits of information that were invaluable, that you didn't need to learn on the job and have a meltdown, you could avoid all of that by having a one-page profile that would identify what those children's needs were in a transport scenario. So that was the thinking behind that. Jump in, anybody, if you've got anything else to add. But that was certainly some of the feedback that we had for lots of different needs were covered by having a one-page profile. But it was certainly something that we thought might be quite useful.
Okay, so a bespoke transport related paper form.
And it might just be, there's lots of different questions that you can be asked out there, and that maybe one-page profiles, the purest sense, should be very person-centered and bespoke. But in this scenario, that might not be necessary. It might just be a number of questions that are asked, that what are the needs of your child or whatever else, that could be captured ahead of time, really. So if there are changes in shifts in personnel, that document is just handed over to the taxi drivers and the chaperones.
Okay, I can see Kerry has turned her camera on. So Kerry, did you want to?
I was only going to ask, what's the thoughts around who writes that document?
It would be a combination of the parent and the young person. Right. It might be specific questions that you might pose to them, but it would be something that the parents and the children would write together.
Okay, yeah, that makes the most sense, really, because obviously it's a step on from the meet and greets, isn't it? Yeah,
and if that can be done ahead of the meet and greet, so that the commission taxi firm knows what to expect ahead of time, then that would be great. But that wouldn't be essential. But we know there is switches in personnel, and there is chaperones need to have their own hospital appointments or whatever else, and they're not there, but at least they have something that they know that they can pass on from that, and that those children's views and parents' views are recorded.
Yeah, so the operator ultimately would also need to have a copy, just being mindful of things like GDPR and where you want this information to be and stuff like that. So that would need a bit of a thought process at this end to make sure that everything was shared but also safe.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody? And hold on a sec. Let's have a look in the chat. Okay. You carry on. Do you want me to? What do you want me to do with questions? Do you want me to do questions now? Or
no? Can we talk through the second?
Of course we can.
The second discussion point, which is around the process for drivers arriving early or late. So, I was going to ask Kerry to sort of talk through what the current process is at the moment, and then if there are any sort of, anyone wants to add any observations or questions about that would be good. Thank you.
So I think from my point of view, from the transport point of view and the contractors and our contract point of view, drivers are allowed to be within the conditions of contract up to 15 minutes late before we would take sanctions against their contract. If the driver is running late, he should also be informing our office. And if that lateness is significant, then we have ways of contacting parents via text message or via email to let them know that the driver is going to be late. That's not a sort of in the minute type process when parents are getting multiple children ready, but short of ringing everybody for every contract that is running late potentially, that is at the moment the best that we could do to be able to advise of lateness. Where drivers are arriving early, this is likely to be due to a child that's not attending through sickness or appointment or something along those lines. We would expect that the drivers were reasonable in their waiting time outside of these addresses, acknowledging that they might be sort of 5 minutes earlier than they would be, and the usual waiting time would be sort of 3 to 5 minutes for a pupil. And asking, that they maybe give 6 or 7, because obviously the parents can see that they're there, and we don't want to then make the contract late, but acknowledge that it's just, it's just an operational matter really, that, children will be poorly and won't attend school. In the afternoons, then potentially drivers would know, or parents would know, that the child was picked up earlier this morning, because 2 children weren't in because they're poorly. So that would be an expectation that obviously they're not going to, sort of drive around to stick with that published arrival time. They probably will be early. There's reasonable things that drivers can do there. So if there's other children on the vehicle and your child is fortunate enough to be on a route which is local to your area, we would always ask that they would continue to drop off anyone else that they could and go back for a second visit. If that isn't possible, then they need to ring us, and we need to try and take steps to get hold of parents, which obviously we're going to try to avoid as much as possible, and work with the drivers, and just hope that mum, who's usually back at 10 to 4, will be back at 10 to 4, and the driver will be there. Again, if they're operating late, again, they get that 15-minute window, then they should be phoning into our office, and they should be taking advice on what to do and how to manage the lateness and share that information with people, so there is no unnecessary panic. And again, that may result in phone calls if it's in the afternoon. Very often parents will have already called us, and we will have that information with our contact centre and colleagues in the team. And yeah, possibly ring around from our team if it's felt that that's required, because they are going to be significantly late. Okay,
that's great. I'm not sure that's happening in practice, is my honest feedback. We've had a number of parents on several different occasions saying taxis just aren't turning up. Taxis are significantly late in the morning and they don't know about it, and conversely that taxis, incidences where taxis have been half an hour early in the afternoon, whilst a parent is on a school run for a number of other, that they've usually got more than one child. And instances where the child has been inappropriately left. So it's what do you need the parents to know if that's that situation and that arises, really? What can we do to empower the parents, because that breakdown is happening, and they're not isolated.
So if they're constantly late in the mornings, that should be fed through to our team, because that's a contract performance matter. Okay. And that isn't what we're setting the stall out with at all when we're awarding these contracts. So we need to know about that to be able to do something. Once or twice, that operational issues will happen. I appreciate that for parents with children of SEN, where things like routine and regular things happening are massively important, but unfortunately there will be roadworks, there will be drivers that ring in sick, there will be someone that cheekily takes on an airport run because they get paid more for it. We're not happy about it, but it's what taxi drivers do. But regular poor performance, we will deal with. We will manage that if we know about it. As for the children being dropped off and not left alone, then drivers, the responsibility initially, I think, is on parents to be there in the morning and there in the afternoon, so the drivers can recognise that there's somebody there. So generally you might have parents that say go to a window, or there's parents that might have the door open, or they might come out to greet the vehicle. So it's obvious for the driver. The driver isn't having to, sort of go to a door to make sure that there's somebody on board. It needs to be a bit more of a partnership there. With regards to leaving the children alone, that shouldn't happen. It's obviously it's not against the law, but obviously there is a significant concern and best practice models, I suppose, that are probably at play here if somebody were to leave somebody alone. Really what the driver should do is there's just a message distracting me there. What the driver should do is ring to tell us that there's nobody home, and we would look at sort of instigating sort of an abandoned child type process with what we can do, which is generally to contact all the parent numbers that were given. So another step there is potentially, if there are other numbers, so if there's a number for mum, dad, nan, friend, anyone that can come to an aid if for whatever reason mum gets stuck at the supermarket, or she's stuck in traffic or roadworks, then we will ring all of the numbers that we have available to let them know that there's an issue. What we don't want, for the safeguarding reasons, is for drivers to be sat outside the home with the child in the taxi for long periods of time, because that's one, it's not overly appropriate. It's not helpful for the child always when they can see that they're home and they want to get out. And I think that really starts with having the parents having that initial face-to-face meet with the driver, so they get to know who they're looking for morning and afternoon, to make sure that the child is being handed over to somebody responsible.
Okay, great. I think the issue it has been more around, the issue has arisen with the early arrival of a taxi driver, on a few occasions. So mum would normally be there at say 10 to 4, but if they arrive at 3:30, then they can't be in two places at once. And those are the kinds of issues that were bubbling up. And they didn't seem to have done the protocol that you discussed, which was, well, let's go around and drop all the other children off first, if that's an option, and then come back and do the second drop off, really. So it is
all
all
children will have that benefit, unfortunately. So if we were dropping off in Winsford and there was 4 other children in Winsford, that's possible. But if you're dropping off in Lethwich and your next drop off is in Hertford, they can't go and do that and then come back. So there's obviously work that we need to do there to try and
there is, because a child being left,
because
a child being left on their own, it's not illegal or not, or legal or not, it doesn't really make any difference. It's not a scenario that we want any of our SEN children to be in, and I know that you feel the same about that. So it's just making sure that it's what it is that we, how best can we avoid those kind of situations going forward. I think that's what we and what the processes are that the parents need to know about. So the suggestion was, it would be great if the taxi drivers were able to text the parents on some routes. That happens regularly, to say that, listen, we're early, are you there, and have that open kind of line of communication, and that would resolve some of those issues. But by the time they've gone through the calling you guys, that it's already 10-15 minutes down the line. So is there an opportunity to start establishing that as a way around it?
We can't encourage any taxi driver to make calls or text while they're driving. That is against the law. and obviously we don't want them to put themselves in a situation where if they're caught and they're using their mobile phone and their engine is on, then potentially they stand to face the consequences of that, and rightly so.
Yeah, no, sorry, meaning with if there were chaperones on board who were able to do that, you know, that's
yeah, possibly, if they're prepared to do that. Not everybody sort of, it's a bit inconsistent, isn't it? Because not everybody wants to share their numbers with the drivers and passenger assistants. Not all drivers and passenger assistants want to share their numbers, and it's not really something that we can make them do. There's plenty of times where doing things like that is, you know, it causes safeguarding referrals, because, you know, I don't know, children could get the numbers, or there could be an inappropriate text that's sent. So we've got to be very careful about what we're actually asking the taxi drivers to do.
okay, all right,
And the information that we're expecting them to hold.
okay. I don't think we're going to resolve this now, Kerry. I don't think this is something that we're
Absolutely not. No,
So
it's a process that we welcome ideas on.
Yeah, okay, so you know, I think perhaps we need to set you know, an additional, we've got loads of questions in the chat, by the way, so I'm going to go through some of those, but I think it might be something that we then set up a follow-up from the focus groups to kind of like thrash out some of the details. Okay, so let's just go through some of the questions that we've got here. I was told by Linda, so meet and greet should be 6 weeks before the holidays. Can you expand on that? Usually when would the meet and greets take place?
During the summer break.
During the summer break.
Yeah,
Can
there
I
are
just
contracts
expand on that a bit.
Of course you can, Liz.
Yeah, I was told from someone from transport who came to talk to the SEN head teachers for an update that the meet and greets will take place before the school holidays. So was that never the case?
The letters will be received well and truly before the school holidays.
Right.
There are contracts that have been awarded a lot earlier this year, so we wouldn't discourage operators from making contact with parents rather than it being, you know, a mad flurry in those couple of weeks. But generally, we ask drivers and passenger assistants to at least make contact during that 6 weeks holiday. So if they want to get ahead of the game, that's fab. And as long as that's convenient for everybody, we wouldn't discourage that. But we tell them that they have to do it as a minimum in the summer holidays.
Thank you for clarifying that.
No
I've
problem.
got a couple of more, which are my questions, so I might as well just read them out.
Okay.
So how are drivers trained to deliver medical care in emergency? For example, a child with diabetes that has a medical care plan. Whose responsibility is it? School transports or parents?
I'm not sure in the eyes of the law. I don't know whether Carolyn's got any opinions on this, but what I know is it's not the responsibility of the driver. They're taxi drivers. They're not medically trained personnel.
So can I just clarify an example of when a child left the school and for whatever reason came home late from traffic or whatever, and a child arrived unconscious because they didn't have their medication. So if a child's got diabetes and in school they will have a healthcare plan and the diabetic nurse will go out and train the staff, shouldn't we be aware of that healthcare plan and have those discussions with the parents? Do they need to be medically trained in case of an emergency situation? It's a grey area because once they leave school, it's not school's responsibility and they're in the care of the taxi drivers.
They're actually a parent's responsibility on their journey home, but they're covered by the insurance of the taxi driver for anything that should happen on that journey. So from when they've left the school grounds, school have handed them over. So as I say, the drivers are taxi drivers, they're passenger assistants, they're not medically trained personnel. Lots of them probably wouldn't want to be. But we have just recently rolled out first aid training for our fleet driving staff. So that's just basic first aid for, you know, anybody, if something happens to somebody in Asda or, you know, a neighbour or whatever. And we hope to share our provider of that with operators for them to take up at their own time and cost the opportunity to be able to have that sort of same level training. We are improving the information that we share amongst teams with regards to the needs of children. And as the transport team, we're keen to look at having any information on risk that we can be sharing with the drivers. It may be that you know, we identify a certain group of drivers and passenger assistants that potentially might need to have a little bit more training from the school. They're never going to be medically trained though, so in those cases, those children potentially moving forward might need to be considered more for a PTB than travel assistance, because it's the risk to the child, the risk to, you know, the passenger assistant or driver that's potentially got to live with the consequences, you know, of doing something wrong when they probably genuinely would not want to do any harm to children whatsoever.
So will you be checking before you take on a child with those such needs? You need to be aware, don't you? So will you be checking and then checking with the parent, right? Is it okay we take your child if they have a fit or anything, we can't help them? Is that how you're going to cover yourselves?
We're going to get as much information as we can about the needs of the pupils, and I think we need to share. Our responsibility is to share that with the drivers, and that ideally is at the point of tender. So when people are bidding for these contracts, they know that there are children on the contract that could have a fit or could suffer the consequences of diabetes or asthma or, you know, a chronic condition. So then they're informed at that point of accepting those contracts, and obviously we'll quickly, you know, sort of bring everybody up to speed that's got existing.
So surely
contracts.
they're liable having that information, and it's up to them whether they want to put themselves at risk taking a child on like that, where potentially something could happen and they couldn't help them.
That's a conversation that we would have with them, and if that risk cannot be suitably mitigated, and obviously we'd need to take professional advice on that, then we'd be suggesting a PTB for the parent. We wouldn't then knowingly put them into a vehicle knowing that, you know, nobody was trained or comfortable with dealing with, you know, needs like that. We want the children to be safe.
That's reassuring, thank you. And okay. Another thing, what's my last thing, sorry, okay. A social story for the children and for the parents, really, because I would benefit from it. Yeah. Explaining, you know, your common operational issues of the process of being late. So it might be your taxi driver is due at 9:10, but this could be late because of traffic lights and symbols and things like that. So the social story will mirror your protocol of what happens if you're late. Yeah. Your taxi driver, if they are 15 minutes late, you will then get a phone call, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I like the sound of that. I think that's a really
and then
good
everybody
idea.
has got the same information, the taxi drivers, the parents, the schools, everybody knows what's meant to happen and when.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
I can help develop that if you want.
Yeah.
Thanks on me.
just conscious of time, so I'm going to keep moving through. That's all right. We've got one with regards to it's not against the law to leave a child at home, but surely it'd be a massive safeguarding issue if it was a child with SEND. Can you reassure parents that children will never be left at home alone?
No, not 100%. I can't. The intention is that no child should be left at home, but we have parents that don't engage with taxi drivers. You know, the taxi driver is assuming because a child has a key and parents have given them that, and we've ended up in all sorts of safeguarding queries with regards to operational matters like that. I think what's key is that parents present themselves morning and afternoon, so they're meeting the driver halfway. So if they're in, then the driver will be aware that generally within a minute, mum's coming to the window to, you know, sort of wave the child off. So they know that when they're not there, then they need to call us and we need to start our process for ringing round.
Okay, and is that something that you as a transport team communicate to the parents as a you know, this is a good practice that you are there to meet and greet, or somebody, or you let that, you know, is are parents aware that that has to be part of the process?
Yeah, it's we've updated the letters that parents will be receiving now with regards to who they're being transported by for September. And there are different things in there about what we expect from our operators, what we expect from parents, what we expect from children. So hopefully those letters are a lot more informative, and in there it hopefully presents that sort of partnership working.
Okay.
You know, that it is all of us involved in keeping children safe and well and attending school on time each day.
And the one of the other recommendations that came out of that is that they should be easy read as well for children with SEND. The current communication that goes out about standards and behaviour is just too complicated for children with SEND to be able to read. So is there an option to do that as an easy read for the children with SEND?
I don't know, possibly that's something that perhaps you want to look at and help us with the language on. Yeah,
that's fine. Okie dokie.
We do have a contract with a company, that the council has a contract with a company that does easy read documents. So Kerry, you and I can have a look at that.
Okay.
Brilliant. Okay, and as Jane quite rightly says, it is all about communication. So you know, so thank you. This is the start of that. So thank you for listening to all of the parents' views and coming on today and you know, updating us about what personal travel budgets are, because I think there's a lot of knowledge gaps. So you've helped fill some of those today. So we appreciate it. Thanks ever so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting us.
No problem at all.
Very much appreciated. And
I'm now going to thank you guys. You're welcome to stay for the rest or dib off. It's entirely up to you. I am now going to hand over to Cheshire Buddies though. I'm sorry that we're a bit late, but I know you guys wanted to talk about your summer provision. So Stephanie, are you there, Stephanie? Oh, there you are. There you go.
I'm here. Hi.
Just let me know when you want me to move through the slides for you.
Okay. All right. So, hi everyone. I'm Stephanie Lawley from Central Cheshire Buddies scheme. We've had some HAF money, and we wanted to share with you really the activities that we're going to put on over summer. So next slide. So we've got funding to deliver SEND activities, and we've come up with a varied programme really. Okay, next slide. So the activities will include swimming at Rio in Northwich, Grow Zone in Northwich. We've got cycling at Wythenshawe and bread making in Chester. And I'm going to talk through the different activities and what we're going to be delivering and what they involve as well. So the aim really is to do structured activities for disabled children and families. So these are family activities. Certainly at Grow Zone, it's a whole family affair. So we're asking you to attend with your children. Bookings are through Eventbrite and they go live on the 15th of July. They're all ready and they're all ready to go live. But that for us is the easiest way to manage it. Okay, next slide. So we've got a swimming at Rio every Wednesday in August from 10:30 till 12. We've got 18 places available, and really again we're asking people to book through Eventbrite, and there'll be one of us there. I think it'll be me most times, but there'll be one of us at Rio, and then we'll just we'll have the list of names, because what happens sometimes is people sort of go to the lady on reception and say, oh, I'm with Cheshire Buddies, but they haven't registered. So we just need everyone's help just sort of to be registered and everything. And then there'll be one of us in the water. There might be two, but we're just working that bit out. And that's just to support families that have got, you know, more than one child. Or last year we had a family of a mum and 3 children, and one of the children was quite disabled, so we worked in the water with that child so that mum could work with the other children. So we have 18 places and everything's free. So we've also got, cycling at, go on.
Sorry.
It's all right. We've also got cycling at Wythenshawe. So there'll be 2 pickup points. So we're using the Buddies minibus. Again, places are limited because of the bus. But the cycling at Wythenshawe is brilliant. So they've got every type of bike you can think of. And so any child will be able to cycle at Wythenshawe. So they've got trikes, they've got normal bikes, they've got everything. So if you're worried about your child and think that, you know, they won't be able to cycle, then they've got every bike. And there's going to be, you know, a couple of us as well. So if a child has difficulty cycling, we'll cycle with them. So, but Wythenshawe itself is, sorry, just go back. Wythenshawe itself is, you know, a really good place to go and visit. The lady that runs it, it's run by Simply Cycling, and they have sessions on a Saturday, but they have sessions most days in the summer as well. So what we will be doing is we'll be using the Buddies minibus and taking a group on the 23rd and the 30th of August. So that we'll go from Morrison's in Winsford and Woodheath, and then people will jump on the bus and then we'll go together. Okay, so again, we've got a maximum of 12 so that there's enough support staff to go with and support the children. Okay. So we've also got Grow Zone, and we're going to be at Grow Zone Thursday the 10th, Friday the 11th, Thursday the 17th, Friday the 18th. There's up to 30 places available at Grow Zone, and what we'll be doing is we'll have there's a pizza oven at Grow Zone, so we'll have homemade pizza, do arts and crafts, there'll be pond dipping, there'll be a campfire, and we'll do marshmallows and a story, and also a treasure hunt. So again, this is a family event, and we'll do lots of different activities. Grow Zone's been going down really well, actually, just because of the variety of activities we can do, and also because of the food and everything. So again, bookings are on Eventbrite for that. And just one more, I think. That's it. So we've also got this year, we've got bread making in Chester. So it's in the afternoon, and it's 1 till 4, and it's at the Wesley Church, St John's Street, Chester. So we're asking people to meet us there. This again is actually a fantastic activity. It's run by a company called Bread Together, and the children get to make a loaf and biscuits, and we'll have something hot again, and they do different things. Sometimes it's pizza, sometimes it's focaccia, sometimes it's other things. So everyone will get fed, and everyone will get to take a loaf home, or you know, bread based. Something we've gone home with pizza in the past. We've done it with quite a few different groups, and the results have been amazing, and everyone's loved it. They've got all the equipment and facilities. They've got a proving oven, they've got a baking oven. So this is really worthwhile doing. But what we've done is we tried to offer something, you know, Chester based, just to again see how families react and react to it. And again, it's a family activity, but if mums come, or mums and dads come, you can always go and have a coffee, because they've got a really good cafe. So you can always go and have a coffee, and the children will be with us and be making bread. Next slide, please. So this is just my details. So if you're not sure how to access the activities, if you look on Eventbrite, look under Cheshire Buddies, all the list will come up and will appear on the 15th. I don't think they're there now. It's odd because we've inputted them, so I know what's there, but I don't know what people can see. But they actually go live on the 15th. So if you're interested, I'd be ready for the 15th, because in the past everything's gone within an hour.
Can I ask,
go on.
Would you be able to, once that goes live, would you be able to share that Eventbrite link with us, and then we can put it on our website?
We can do, but it's really easy. I mean, even I know how to do it. So, you know, all you do is go on Eventbrite, Google Cheshire Buddies, and the activities come up. But we can send you a link if we sent you that.
Great, thank you.
So got something, yeah.
Got a couple of questions for you. Firstly, Annika, you've got your hand up.
When you say it's a family event, do you mean it's also open to siblings, or do you mean you just want a parent to be there and stay?
Well, siblings can come as well. Yeah, that's fine. That's why we've said it's a family event.
Okay, thank you. And then another question is, in the Northwich, do you need to actually get in the water at Northwich? Do the parents need to get in the water at Northwich?
Yeah. That's why it's family, because what we found in the past is we've run, it was worked really well actually. This is the second year that we were doing this, and we're doing it because we piloted it last year and it worked really well. So yeah, parents got in the water. If parents really hate the water, then I could be in the water with the child, but I can't be in the water with 18. So what we, you know, it's really a conversation with one of us if people are afraid of the water, but we're in the water so that we can support parents and just help, as I say, with other children as well.
Great, wonderful. Well, thank you, Stephanie. Thanks ever so much for coming along, and we appreciate you sharing all of those. I'm sure they're going to go like hotcakes, all those places. So thanks ever so much.
Okay.
With holiday clubs in mind, I'm going to see if it works. I'm going to bear with me. We do actually, we do have a place on our website where we've put all the HAF funding. Hold on a sec, stop sharing. So if you want to find out what kind of funding has happened, is happening over the summer, not just HAF funding, but any kind of activities, you can go onto our website. And when that link that I've got to here was via that slide. So when we send these slides out to you, or you can click through, or alternatively, just go onto our website and it is actually there. So you'll be able to see all the holiday activities that we've got. These are all the HAF funded ones, some of the Brio, Live, Endorphins, Chaps, etc., etc. So please do go and have a look, and we've tried to put everything in one place so that you can see actually what's taking place. Okay, right, well, I think that's pretty much all of it, to be fair. Just let me double check. There you go. So all that's left to say is thank you very much indeed for an incredible year. Thank you for sharing your views. We will be shutting down over the summer months. With the last piece of work that we need to do is, or last couple of pieces of work, is get back with regards to wraparound care and making sure that this presentation is shared with you all. So thank you very much indeed. If you do want to get in contact with us, we'll be monitoring our emails over the summer, but please don't expect a quick response. But we are there and available, and we will continue to share things on Facebook. So all that's left to say is have a fantastic summer, everybody. And we look forward to seeing you all in the next academic year. Thanks ever so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye, guys.